wake up in a bamboo forest. Your body is racked with pain and you've no idea how you got there.
The image of a guy in a suit waking up in a jungle, bloodied and disheveled and clearly not knowing where he is. It's just a great image. Gets up, finds this bottle of vodka, bringing back some sort of vague thing in his consciousness as he's trying to like kind of get his bearings, and then starts charging through that bamboo jungle and bursts out onto a beach. You see this just incredible blue paradise of a beach, and then starts hearing the sound that we as an audience member start hearing the sound rush in, which is this high whining, like very, very intense engine noise. And then that's when the whole reveal of the plane crash is there.
The drama series Lost begins with the immediate aftermath of a horrific plane crash. And right from the off, the audience is put slap bang in the middle of the action.
Every single episode of Lost feels like a fully realized film.
I think it was the most expensive pilot ever made.
It really affects people. It shakes them up.
I think that people are ready for something different.
Where are you?
There is no preconceived pattern or blueprint. This show's never been done before.
Where are we?
Lost is the story of the passengers of flight Oceanic 815, whose plane en route from Australia to Los Angeles is torn apart mid-air over the vastness of the Pacific. The plane comes down on an uncharted tropical island, and for those who survive, there are no emergency services, and anyone looking to rescue them has no idea where they are.
We were 1,000 miles off course. They're looking for us in the wrong place.
You can watch it just for the storyline at the surface, which is how people are coping with the fact that they're probably not going to be rescued. They're probably leaving their lives as they knew them behind.
You have this disparate group of people from all walks of life, and we've all got to get on or we're not going to make it.
Oh, that's bowling! You know it's peachy pork pie!
So we're being forced to look at ourselves. This island is like a big mirror to your demons. Come back around.
The island itself has a dark and sinister atmosphere, and soon the survivors are hearing mysterious voices in the jungle and having disturbing visions.
It's definitely not a normal island.
There's a lot of mystery involved, and there may be sort of otherworldly elements at work. It is not as simple as it seems.
Lost is the creation of two of Hollywood's hottest young producers, Damon Lindelof and J.J. Abrams.
Damon Lindelof came up with the idea, which was survivors of a plane crash on a deserted island. And J.J. Abrams had huge success with Alias, and at least a cult following, and was very talented, so they asked him to come in on the show, and he became very passionate about this project.
Abrams also wrote the Hollywood blockbuster Armageddon, and has just been signed up to direct Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 3.
JJ's enthusiasm and clarity and eagerness to attempt a project is contagious.
They definitely think out of the box, if you will.
That can't be a polar bear.
It's a polar bear. Polar bears don't usually live in the jungle.
Spot on.
The network wanted to do a show that was about people who survived a plane crash and landed on an island. We had this meeting, which was on a Monday, and we started talking about what the story could be and got very excited about the possibilities. We turned in an outline that Friday, and they called the next day and said, you know, it's greenlit, we want to make it. The bad news was that we had 12 weeks to turn it in, the final show. So we just started writing the script, casting it simultaneously, location scouting, bought an airplane, shipped it to Hawaii where we decided, we would shoot, and we shot the pilot. turned it around in 12 weeks, basically to the day the phone call came in.
It's a reinvention of scripted, expensive, difficult to film, tricky television.
With a budget of $5 million, the pilot episode of Lost is the most expensive piece of television ever made.
This pilot was shot in Hawaii, on location, on the beach, and the plane crash scenes are, I believe, just as good, if not better, than anything we've seen in the cinemas.
This was like, screw convention, we're gonna just jump in and scare the hell out of you.
Just watching that pilot episode, you're immediately struck by how much like a really good film it is. I mean, it's brilliantly directed, it looks amazing. It rivals that film Alive, which had a brilliant plane crash opening it. And I think it's kind of terrifying, it seems incredibly realistic.
I'm sure there was some debate or discussion about the intensity of that crash sequence, which was, I thought, very intense, very explicit. And I would tend to think, gee, this is more than audiences want to take in or want to handle.
You will never look at turbulence on an airplane the same way again after seeing this show. The scene where they're all in their seats and it starts to shake a little bit, and we've all felt that, seems very normal for the first few seconds.
It's normal.
And then the back of the plane snaps off.
Since 9/11, anything to do with aviation safety has been a taboo subject. Several films with similar plots just died immediately after 9/11, but we are beginning to digest that.
There are so many other images in our head, things that happened in 9/11. There are so many images in our head that immediately when you see it, you're impacted. You're already like, what does that mean? All these things happen to you. You get scared, you get excited. You don't want to see it, but you have to look at it. Do you know what I mean? All those things happen to you right away. And that's exactly what happened to us. Like, there was no need to act. It was astounding, you know, and they had, you know, sort of these fake bodies hanging places, or you'd walk by a hand.
It was so real. It was so insanely real. And I mean, everything we did, every explosion, every wing falling really happened. It was pretty moving and intense.
It was definitely a real explosion. Oh yeah, that heat hits you like a slap in the back. It was very easy to act that.
This is the most expensive pilot ever filmed in the history of TV. They're like, it's either a hit or you're done. You know, the stakes were really high, and so if it didn't have the response that it did get, we wouldn't be here now.
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble now, you know. All the shows that you see on television now, the doctor shows, the lawyer shows, the hospital shows, every single one of them, they can be very, very well executed, but you still pretty much know exactly what the next episode's gonna hold for you. And with Lost, you don't have any idea what the next episode's gonna hold for you. It doesn't have to be this way. Yeah, it does.
Lost tells the tale of the survivors of a plane crash who find themselves stranded on an uncharted desert island. When it becomes apparent that there is no rescue team on the way to save them, we begin to learn more about each of the 14 main characters.
We had 14 people, which I think was like 8 more than the absolute maximum the network said they would ever allow us to have. Like we went crazy. But you can't do a show on a desert island with, 4 people.
You're going to sort of need the hero and the heroine.
Not letting him do this.
Not letting him?
And then the character who has some sort of technical expertise.
I'm making an antenna of sorts.
And the comic relief.
We've been here for 2 weeks, and you've not really slimmed down much. All I need is a bag of peanuts. I have no food.
But very early on we started saying, how do we take the hero and sort of turn it or twist it? Well, you got Jack, who is sort of our hero. Who very quickly sort of finds himself in the position of leadership.
It's time to start organizing. We need to figure out how we're going to survive here.
And sort of his struggle with that leadership.
I'm not a leader.
And yet they all treat you like one.
I don't have what it takes.
What would actually happen if we were in this scenario, if we were in a plane crash and the 47 survivors. You know, I think the idea that somebody would come forward and say, like, okay, I'll tell everybody what to do, would actually not happen.
It's important for Jack to be a guy that does play the reality of the situation that they're all in. I think he's the one who's the most conscious because of him being a doctor, but also just because he innately has a very, very strong moral compass. But he's flawed in many, many ways and will oftentimes choose to do terrible things.
Over here! Over here! We want him alive.
And then there's Kate, who's the female lead, and she's sort of grounded in mystery.
I know your type.
I'm not so sure.
She's this character who, you know, doesn't like to talk about herself and, you know, is very, very independent. And at the same time, she has this, you know, this incredible vulnerability that draws us to her, and we want to know more about her.
In the first 2 or 3 episodes, what you see is Kate in survival mode. Kate in the mode that she goes to when everything is out of control and she doesn't know what's going on and she's scared and unsure.
Tell me something, how come anytime there's a hike into the heart of darkness, you sign up?
She kind of tries not to show too much that she can do anything, so watch out. And then she kind of goes, oh, you didn't see that?
Does anybody know how to use a gun?
Her character represents sort of what the premise of the show is, which is that if this were really to happen, what if the people didn't really like to talk about themselves, you know? And thus it opens up sort of the door to explore their lives prior to the crash in an engaging way where it's like, God, I really want to know who these people are, the unreliable narrator. They're sort of on this island. They've only been with these other people for 2-3 weeks now, but we really know nothing about them.
The tale is told from different perspectives each week. You start off with one character and it unveils how they got onto that plane and then how they got onto that beach. And there's often a twist. Every one is like a short Roald Dahl story.
If you're not in this band, what the bloody hell use are you?
Yes. Colonel Locke, is this line secure?
Line secure GL-12, go ahead.
You made a mistake.
Are you lecturing me?
Everyone down on the ground! Down on the ground!
I'm not coming for you! I'm coming for Walt! I'm getting my son back!
You bitch. All right, that's enough.
Don't touch me, bullet!
Bring your father home, Jack.
Where is he?
Australia. What is it?
This was meant to be.
Good morning.
Morning.
You're sleeping in my sheep pen.
무슨 수를 써서라도 공항 밖을 빠져나와야 해요.
I mean, the whole of Lost seems to be very flashback-centered, kind of playing with time and playing with your expectations of how the story is going to be told.
What do you think his story is?
Who? Locke. The guy's a freak of nature.
Almost kind of using flashbacks in a kind of shock value way, very effectively, I think.
The really outstanding thing is that no one is who you expect them to be. Really. So far, not a single character has not surprised me when we find out where they came from. And there are a few episodes that you will literally, your jaw just hits the floor.
I think the character of Locke, he's like one of the most dynamic and spectacular people around, and he intrigues you and scares you all at the same time.
Well, John Locke is great because, like, you can't figure out if he's a good guy or a bad guy. When I first saw the reveal of Locke's episode, I actually yelled out loud, like, oh my God!
Now, I demand a place on that bus.
You misrepresented yourself.
I never lied.
By omission, Mr. Locke. You neglected to tell us about your condition.
My condition is not an issue. I've lived with it for 4 years. It's never kept me from doing anything.
Well, I can't keep the bus waiting any longer. It isn't fair to the other people.
Don't talk to me about fair!
John Locke is someone who doesn't speak much, who we don't know very much about until we see a couple of quirky things that he does that surprise people.
It's gonna start raining in 1 minute.
And still, when we see those things, it doesn't really reveal much. I think John Locke has left behind something that he was very happy to leave behind.
He represents everything mystical about the show. He sort of has a inner dialogue going on with the island.
I've looked into the eye of this island, and what I saw was beautiful.
He's the third part of that triangle that brings in sort of the Twilight Zone-esque qualities of the show.
The supernatural qualities of Lost come in the form of the island itself, with our band of survivors having to deal not just with the dilemma of being stranded, but with a monstrous presence closing in on them.
For me, the first thing that I thought was, what if the island wasn't just an island? What if they found something?
Is that part of the plane?
And the thing that they found implied that there was much more to this place than just your typical island.
What is that? That's what we're gonna find out.
Something odd. There's, for one thing, polar bears on the island, and we don't really know why. Because our island is in the tropics. And also the giant unseen thing that can knock the trees down.
Terrific.
Pretty mystifying. I mean, you know, why are there polar bears? What is this big monster? All of that weird, surreal nonsense, really, that happens in Lost is what makes it great, because it's challenging and it's difficult and it's all a bit complicated.
You know, I always pictured the island as like this huge mouth that's just closing in on us, you know, and turning everyone against each other. Good morning.
Hey, don't talk to me about my son like you know him. You hit like a pumpkin.
I just got tortured by a damn spinal surgeon and a genuine Iraqi.
And it's bad boy Sawyer who causes more trouble than most.
Well, he basically comes on the screen and says nothing, and then he gets in a big fight.
You guys, come on, man.
The guy you hate at the beginning. And it's my job as the actor to bring as much humanity to the character as I possibly could. Otherwise, he'd be dead already.
I think women love Sawyer because he is this kind of, he's a kind of macho, you know, very sure of himself, kind of impressive, charismatic figure, but I think men might be rather annoyed by him. Frankly, I was rather annoyed by him.
What are you doing in here?
Trick or treat, same as you.
You're looting.
Ah, you say potato.
What's in the bag?
Booze, smokes, a couple of Playboys. What's in yours?
Medicine.
Well, just about sums it up, don't it?
He's your reality check. He's your bullshit meter.
Give us the water now! Man, touch me again.
It's not here.
I traded Mr. Miyagi the last of my water for a fish he caught. We worked it out caveman style.
You know, and Saeed's another character who we thought would be really interesting, especially kind of what's going on globally, to take a character who's an Iraqi and say, let's make them a heroic character on an American, you know, television show and see what happens.
Are you Air Force? Army?
The Republican Guard. You know, I couldn't believe that a major network, you know, was going to have an Iraqi character who was also from the Republican Guard.
You planted the device in the party's headquarters, didn't you? You killed 2 soldiers!
Confess it. Confess it, and perhaps it will only cost you your hands instead of your life.
I didn't know how people were going to respond in America to an Iraqi character, and the response has been so positive.
But just to have an ambiguous, is he good, is he bad, Iraqi character is a great idea and very bold.
What are you doing?
Each of the characters responds to the seriousness of the predicament in different ways, with one in particular unable to accept the possibility that they won't be rescued.
I
I play Shannon. She's a 20-year-old, very spoiled socialite from a great deal of money. She's really painfully ill-prepared for the situation. She copes with things by sticking to business as usual, which includes sunbathing and painting her toenails. She's a very, very difficult relationship with her brother Boone. On the surface being just that he's this obviously obnoxious, kind of super overachiever, super brother.
You're not the only one who knows what to do around here, you know that? I run a business!
I'm not gonna starve.
Right. What are you gonna eat?
Ocean's full of fish.
The ocean is not gonna take your gold card. 14 actors. It's a pretty tall order for those producers to get all these storylines out and then all these different dynamics and these characters and the anatomy. You want to know what got them on this plane.
They've created for themselves a really complicated format and a really unbelievably involved, plot-driven show, expensive plot-driven show, where they have to juggle all of these storylines.
Incredibly, for such a massive show, shot on 35mm film and achieving the production values that it does, each episode of Lost is made only 3 weeks in advance of being aired.
Action! Yeah, they move pretty fast. We try to shoot an episode in a week and a half. And just the principal photography part. I mean, as far as shooting versus what goes on air, we're only maybe a couple chapters ahead of what the audience is.
To keep the work at a high standard in 8 days, that's hard, man. It's not easy. You know, you've got to work very hard to do that. This thing just keeps going. It's kind of relentless. It's a lot of hard work. It's quite grueling. You have to be able to adapt because you literally don't know what's coming.
It's like, God, what's going to happen? What happens to such and such? Or, it really is just a page-turning thing, I think, for all of us wanting to know what's going to happen next. Because, we know basics about our characters, which we need to as an actor. But as far as the island goes and whatever's going on with it and the situation that we're in, we don't need to know that because our characters don't, so that's always a surprise.
I think the fact that most of us started this project without much information regarding our histories or our characters was at first intimidating, and after the fact was freeing. I was pretty much free to approach any particular scene or or the character basically with an empty mind.
I'm fine. I can do this.
I think the stories we're telling are pretty good. I think that we've got a good sense of what's going on, and if the writers weren't as good as they were, and if the actors weren't as good as they were, and the directors and the producer, we would be terrified.
And then, of course, Charlie, who started out as sort of comic relief, but then quickly turned to realize that he's sort of got this very dark, scenario going on.
Charlie is a songwriter of a band called Drive Shaft.
You never heard that song?
I've heard it. I just don't know what the
That's
hell it
us.
has.
Who has had relative success in probably England and America. I think he's been on CD UK.
I'm a bloody rock god!
With his lifestyle, Charlie has acquired a few bad habits. The worst probably being a heroin addiction.
Dominic Monaghan is perhaps best known for playing the part of Merry in Lord of the Rings. With the part of Charlie, a washed-up rock star and heroin addict, quite a departure for the former Hobbit.
That aspect of the character was probably what appealed to Dominic Monaghan and why, he's gone from being in the biggest films of recent years to agreeing to star in a TV show, which is probably an unusual move for someone like him. I'm sure he could have done loads and loads of huge, big-budget Hollywood movies, but instead he's decided to do this rather more bold and daring TV show. I'm sure it's his unusual character and his problems that have appealed to him.
After Lord of the Rings, I was offered a lot of generically good, very kind-natured, very sweet, fantasy-type, pixie, goblin-type characters, And I couldn't live with that. There's just a lot to play with Charlie. He's a wild card. And I've never seen a character that is clearly very attractive in his comedy and in his uncomfortableness and in his kind of awkwardness in his comedy, but then on the flip side can be really quite dark and can be lost in his own head and and, you know, he would slit your throat for that bag of heroin.
Now give me my bloody drugs.
The pilot episode of Lost begins with a plane crash that leaves a group of passengers stranded on an unknown Pacific island. Not only do they have to cope with surviving, they quickly discover that the island itself is no tropical paradise.
We're not alone. Okay!
If there's something familiar about all of this, then it's because desert islands have been a setting in storytelling for hundreds of years, with the most famous example being Robinson Crusoe. Traditionally, the island is a lost world, or a land that time forgot, in which characters not only have to survive, have to fight off prehistoric monsters. And because desert islands are cut off from society with no law or police, the survivors always have to create their own civilization, which might be a technicolor paradise like in Disney's The Swiss Family Robinson, or it could see everyone turn into savages and try to kill each other, like in Lord of the Flies.
It's Lord of the Flies time now.
Lost knowingly uses all of these elements, and we easily understand the setup no matter how incredible, because it's so familiar to us. Yet this is a retelling of the desert island story as we've never seen it before.
The quality's coming from the freshness of the approach. The director and the producers know how to keep the tension running. They know how to play with the audience expectations.
Two of the beautiful people will go off together in a lovely lagoon, and it all seems fantastic, just an excuse to see them without much clothes on, and then you'll have them coming across some decomposing bodies.
You were expecting to see, you know, the typical American insurance agent, and instead you have a guy who's an Iraqi guard, or you're expecting to see the fellow who maybe slips a drink now and again. You've got somebody who's really a full-on drug addict. Those are surprises and twists.
You can do things with television that you can't do on film. I remember thinking when we first started filming this that if you could get a balance where the character was just discovering things about himself or his fellow characters at the same time the audience was. That's exciting. That's tremendously exciting.
다쳤어? 무슨 일이야? 날 좀 봐봐. 무슨 일이야?
To describe all of our characters on this island alone, I don't know if that would have worked. I think we needed to go back as to why we actually got on the plane.
Who are you?
I'm your father. I come to bring you home with me.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
A lot of the characters were meant to go somewhere else.
Well, I can't go tomorrow. I have to get my...
It has to be this flight. It can't be any other. They're already scheduled to meet you when you arrive. Flight 8:15.
But then at the last minute, because of fate, they got on this plane.
장인어른은 제게 시드니와 LA에 있는 드론 거래처에 시계를 전달하라고 하셨어요.
Sun and Jin, the Korean couple, you know, who at first are mysterious simply because they, you know, speak another language and they seem sort of as if they have their own issues. And what you will discover as time goes by is that their relationship was at a very, you know, critical juncture, and sort of how they even got there is part of the backstory that you learn. Yeah. You know, had they not landed on this island, what would that next step have been for them? It certainly would have been quite different.
The character I play is Sun. She's married to a character named Jin, and they don't speak English. So they're sort of divided from the rest of the group.
좀 더 적극적으로 얘기를 하려고 노력을 하면.
And plus, she's dealing with a very over-domineering husband.
그냥 내가 하라는 대로 하면 돼.
Lost takes risks in so many ways, and the fact that we have episodes that are over 50% in another language is pretty groundbreaking, I think, for American television.
Yeah. man, I know. Now.
Picking up on a little Korean there, Michael?
Yeah. Pretty sure I know how to say faster and idiot.
The fact is, if you had all these people stranded on an island who couldn't communicate, there would be situations where miscommunication would be funny. You know, I think those cultural differences, especially in the scenes with Hurley, really provide something humorous.
우리 모두에게 충분합니다. 하나
Dude, I'm starving.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near that hungry.
You know, but that's Hurley, who's sort of the everyman character that, you know, as you will get to know him, you will discover sort of his extraordinary story.
Do it now! Turn around! You have the right to remain silent.
In many ways, he just kind of says what's like at the front of his mind and just dealing with this intense situation.
Hey, guy, you awake? Yo, there's a rescue plane. We're saved. Yay! Yeah, he's out.
I think he's very much interested in just surviving in the immediate future. Like, this is just make it to tomorrow kind of idea. He's got a bit of resolve. He's not trying to be a hero or anything like that. He's kind of like an everyman. And that weird, uncomfortable, dissonant feeling you'd get at the end of a Twilight Zone was the same feeling I got when I first saw the end of the pilot, and you discover that people have been there all that time.
I'm alone now. It killed them all.
Someone else stranded here?
Very, very early on, I think it took about, 2 minutes for the Twilight Zone to come up, in the first meeting, in terms of like saying this island that they were on had to be a place that they didn't entirely understand and didn't know, where it was or why they hadn't been rescued.
One factor that may have brought about the initial decision to make Lost was the success of reality TV show Survivor. The rumour being that network TV executives were on the lookout for a scripted version.
The derivative nature of television makes it entirely possible, if not probable, that somewhere along the line, gee, a deserted island works for Survivor. Let's do a show set on a deserted island.
When it went to JJ and Damon, the creators, their first thing was, this is nothing to do with that.
JJ and I sort of like realized very early on that other than the fact that they, both happened to be on tropical islands, that there wouldn't really be any similarities because Survivor is a game show.
You don't get to survive a plane crash and then get given a cheeseburger, or, you don't run through the jungle and escape the monster and then get given immunity for the next few days.
What Lost did was take that initial Survivor concept and somehow make it more real than reality TV. When I watch Lost, it seems more real to me than when I watch an episode of Survivor now.
Real people just weren't being real enough. So we had to produce something else. So basically what we've got here is the anti-Survivor.
All the classic reality shows, Big Brother, Survivor itself, which is clearly the big influence on Lost, and others, they all start off with 10, 12, 14, however many people. And the great interest at first is getting to know these people, getting to know their quirks, and their weird mannerisms and their peculiar, and who's going to befriend each other and who's going to get off with it. All of that is the intriguing thing about reality TV, and I think what the clever thing about Lost is, right from the start, they were bold and brave enough to not worry about having so many characters, which all dramas usually insist on focusing on 1 or 2 or 3 characters, but Lost took the reality show idea and have got these 14 characters that are juggled pretty much throughout the whole series.
As the show progresses, I'm sure they're going to continue to whittle on, the guys like, we need to cut the cast down. That's their job. That's what they do. So if people want to know what the monster on the island is, it's network. No, I'm kidding.
I think that they've sort of broken this mold. You have this sort of reality base, but it's controlled programming. It's really well constructed drama. I think its time is now.
Perhaps part of Lost's appeal lies in the fantasy that we all have, to leave behind the hustle and bustle of the modern city for a simpler life on a desert island.
We now live in a world where we're continually bombarded by everything, by the internet, by cell phones, by fashion designers and new stuff and new television programs and new media, And there's a time where you sit back and and you fantasize about, you know, what would happen if I was on a desert island? What would I need?
Our lives are so simple and sort of easy now, and it's easy to just kind of like float through your life and like do your day-to-day, go to your job and, you know, come home, turn on your air conditioner or your fan or sit in front of the TV and have, you know, just veg out. So if you go with the disbelief, you know, of this like story, if you jump in with us, then you actually get to go back and like, what if my life wasn't so comfortable or easy?
Hey, separate the cushions, the plastic, the tarp. Put everything you find in different piles so we can take stock.
Am I being punished?
What, you think working with your old man is punishment?
Michael and Walt, sort of the father-son of the show, and Michael is a guy who was, you know, never intended to be a father at all, and then suddenly, because of circumstances that you'll see, he was compelled to step up and become that father that you know he wanted to be initially, but had sort of written off.
I'm gonna get your dog back as soon as it stops raining. Hey, listen to me. I'm gonna get your dog back.
It's hard to tell who's the father and who's the son with Michael and Walt because they don't know each other. And because they don't know each other, neither of them are good at the relationship. So, so they kind of go back and forth. There's a bit of banter, you know, they don't recognize their titles, dad or son.
You listen to me. I mean what I said. You understand?
We have to get to know each other a little bit better, and my mom died, and I lost my dog in a plane crash, so, you know, it's getting rough for me.
You can identify, I'm sure, with someone who has a child, or someone who is maybe trying to get away from their past, or someone who is pregnant, or someone who's looking for a new future.
Claire has this sort of zen about her almost. She's a very down-to-earth girl who kind of takes care of herself, you know, doesn't get caught up in the superficial parts of life, which I think enables her to handle the situation a little more easily.
Your husband, was he on the flight?
Oh, no, I'm not married.
Oh.
I know, how modern of me. You can't just change your mind.
How in the hell am I supposed to be a dad, Claire? How about my painting? My life?
I knew this was gonna happen.
I told you so. Perfect. Now get all your daddy abandonment crap.
Hey,
right?
you
That's great.
bastard! Don't you dare try and justify what you're doing.
The other cool thing about the show is there are these 30 people who are sort of in the background, and you can bring them forward out of the chorus for storylines whenever you want to. They're just not the primary 14, but they're there, you know, they're part of this society that is developing. I think it would be weird if suddenly, you know, Ricky Gervais comes forward and says like, hey, you know, I've been over down on the beach.
Although I would watch that episode.
Yeah, I would watch it too.
Ricky actually asked if he could play a bear. He did.
A bear on the island?
Yeah, I think we should let him.
I think he'd be fantastic.
Since first aired in the States, Lost has become a TV phenomenon, attracting audiences in excess of 18 million, with people putting their lives on hold in case they miss an episode.
How successful the show's become has really blown us all away. I mean, it's so unusual to have a critical and commercial success at the same time, and on this scale, really. I mean, thank God we're out here on an island really far away, because when we go back, it's definitely a different world.
It wasn't conceived as a TV pilot. It was a 2-hour pilot that was supposed to be shown as a movie, and they were thinking that maybe it would be a movie of the week even, you know, if it didn't catch on. So you got to give credit to JJ and Damon because they really aimed high.
네가 일 끝나고 돌아오면 팔로우 주나 했어. 시내와 떨어진 한계한 관계로 갑시다.
Now, the great thing for me about Lost, when I started chatting with the creators, JJ and Damon, in terms of artistically, was that they were trying to do something really ambitious, something really different. And you don't get this quality of television usually.
Did you ever get that Gulf War syndrome?
That was the other side.
Oh, right.
I think the great thing about Lost is it kind of, there's loads of using this Iraqi character particularly, it doesn't say anything, you don't entirely know what it's trying to say or if it's saying anything at all. It's just kind of, there are just kind of reminiscences and reminders of what's going on in the world in the last few years, really.
It's one of the few shows
I think, on American TV that doesn't insult the audience's intelligence.
It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
That is what our goal was, and I can't believe that we've reached it. Like, it blows my mind that it's worked, that people are watching it, and it's something that's worth watching. Just to hear people saying, like, you know, we get to work and we theorize about what happened, or we get there every Thursday morning, so, did you see the episode?
No matter what she does, no matter how she makes you feel, don't you trust a word that she says. She will do anything to get away.
With a total of 25 episodes in the first series of Lost, what else can happen to this group of plane crash survivors stranded on a desert island?
Anybody out there? Mayday, mayday!
Who are you?
Let's take him up.
Is he alive?
We don't... We're not the only people on this island, and we all know it!
Nowadays, with it being so easy to spend some money and go and see a great film at the cinema, the level of television for drama is so high, the special effects need to be incredible, and the quality of acting and the level of jeopardy needs to be a lot more heightened, you know.
The modern audience wants more. They have wider tastes, but they want all of their tastes met in one programme. And they're sophisticated and smart enough to be able to handle all the in-jokes.
So where is the old man?
I think he's buying some paper company up in Slough.
And all the fun bits.
I know what I'd do, but it's gotta be your call.
Give me a 7-iron.
Got it.
And all the parodies, all in one package.
You ever watch Star Trek? The crew guys that would go down to the planet with the main guys? They always wore red shirts, and they always got killed.
It's a very playful show, and I think that's what makes it kind of a superior program that it is, really.
I really do feel like Lost is special. I think it's defining its own class of originality.
You know what I think, Ali? I think you've never actually tortured anybody in your life.
Unfortunately for us both, you're wrong.
You as the audience have to work a little bit to figure out what's going on. You don't get to sit back and go, oh yeah, I know exactly what this is.
Lost's mix of mystery and intrigue has given it an instant cult status, spawning dozens of internet fan sites.
Television networks look very much now to the web as a buzz meter. How interested are people in this show? Well, gosh, if they're messaging about it, they are interested. Lost, I'm sure, generates more computer traffic than any other show out right now.
It's a cultural artifact that's created its own incredibly complicated world. And there's nothing that internet geeks love more than that kind of enclosed, complicated, very detailed world where they can try and interpret all kinds of mysterious signs and activities and images and just go on and on and on about it for years, to come.
The internet is full of conspiracy theories about what is going on here. Did they really all die? Is this some form of afterlife?
The most popular theories are the plane went through a wormhole and the island is actually on another planet. The island is some sort of Jurassic Park and all the survivors are part of a giant experiment. The survivors are in fact all dead and in purgatory.
What really intrigued me was the theory that they had that it was a kind of purgatory, that we were all dead. And it has to be done well, it can't be, and then I woke up,
We just survive plane crashes all the time.
Not like this one. The tail section broke up when we were still in the air. Our section cartwheeled through the jungle, and yet we escaped with nothing but a few scrapes. How do you explain that?
Blind dumb luck.
All the plot lines indicate that there's more to it than that, and it's not all chance and coincidence, and that there's some kind of power that's organising things to some extent, a puppet master pulling the strings.
Every time there's a book placed in the show, it's on purpose. Like, first book that was going around was Watership Down.
It's about bunnies.
That they dot the piece with these little gems throughout, strange. Like, I can remember Malcolm, who plays Walt, kind of looking at a drawing of a polar bear in a book, before you actually see it.
can't give away too much, but a lot of mysterious things go on in that comic book, and they have to deal with this island. This island's very mysterious. You never know what's gonna happen. You know, strange things happen, and in every episode there's something that you guys can catch up on, and you have to remember to piece it together and everything and see what's going on. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Do you want to know a secret?
It's great where they've tied us together in each other's flashbacks in many ways too. Where if you'll watch, like, you always want to keep an eye on what's going on in the background or who the supporting characters are in a given episode.
I don't understand this. I'm reporting a crime. Look, this is a cycle with her, okay? My sister just happens to be attracted to the wrong kind of guy.
I just gave it back to her. Hey, yo, Croc Hunter! How come nobody wants to hear my side of the story, huh? Just what kind
Now,
of...
if that were her mate, see, then I could help you.
Or there's a scene where there's a television set on in the background, and my face will pop up. You'll see me on that TV.
I think the producers are actually at this point trying to figure out what they want to do with the show, because now there's been so much discussion as to what the island could really be, who the people really are, that whenever they reveal what the show is really about, it better be good.
I love the mystery of the whole show. Where the hell is it? What's going on? Why are the monsters there, etc. But the real mystery of the program for me, as a kind of person who's fascinated in the way TV works, is how are they writing this thing? You know,
there is that great sort of classic Planet of the Apes, Statue of Liberty moment. You kind of go, oh, you know, the big epiphany, and there will be moments like that over the run of the series.
We sort of know the answers to, you know, what the monster is or where the polar bears come from, but we're just not at a point yet where we need to answer that, you know, in terms of dramatically compelling the show. And I think that the audience is going to come up with much more interesting answers to those questions than we possibly could.
As we get to know our 14 lost characters at the same time as they get to know themselves, we'll want to know as much as them what fate and the mysterious island has in store for them next.
There are certain inevitabilities of the show. The pregnant girl is going to give birth.
Okay, we need to time the contractions. That's what you do, time the contractions, okay? 1 sugar plum fairy. 2
Charlie, get Jack!
And when she gives birth, what's going to happen? You know, well, how do we deal with the baby on this show? And eventually, they're going to find something on the island, and that something is going to change the reality. And how's that going to change the show?
Right now, this is our priority.
The stuff that's going to come out in this show as we learn more about these people is just going to be more exciting and twisty and creepy, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to go through this journey.
You've opened the box!
I what?
You shouldn't have used the numbers!
Why not?
It doesn't stop! You gotta get away from those numbers! You gotta get far, far away!
What the island holds is as vague to me as it is to Jack at this point. But I love that. I can't wait to find out what the big picture is. I think that's going to be a really long, exciting adventure, both for the characters and for the people that are watching the show and going through it with the characters. It's going to be really cool to find out what the big picture is.
But this place is different. It's special. What if everything that happened here happened for a reason?